Hey guys, Ryan and Greg here, and things are obviously a bit different here. We're in self-quarantine. Greg is taking care of himself. I'm taking care of myself. We got lots of hand sanitizer, washing our hands all the time. We hope you guys are okay at home as well. But we obviously have to still keep watching American Horror Story. I mean, it's no better timing, right, Greg?
Surprise, bitch.
We're not stopping. We're going to continue doing these breakdowns, even from where we're at right now, which is my own home. We got this, guys. And, of course, warning, spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen the episode yet, go watch it for a few minutes. It's 45 minutes long, and then get back over here. So this episode kicks off with good old Stanley fantasizing about what he's going to do to all the freaks when he gets them to the Morbidity Museum.
And when you're first watching this, Greg, it's a little bit traumatizing because you don't know if it's like an actual flash forward.
Oh, yeah.
Or if it's just like a dream of his and he's fantasizing about what could possibly happen. And then you realize that, like, they're not going to kill off that many characters that quickly, right?
I'm sure if you're watching this live, you're probably thinking that everyone's gone at this point, especially the way they shot it. So it's a little bit of a trick throughout the entire episode. And it kind of makes you wonder what's going to happen going forward, too, especially with Stanley.
And thankfully, this doesn't actually happen how he, sees it, fantasize about how it happens. Maggie kind of shoots down his fantasy, and they talk more about how to the plan of how they're going to obtain some of these specimens, right?
Mm-hmm. And also she wants a higher cut so far.
Exactly. And it makes you think that, like, Maggie's kind of like borderline evil, but not like fully Stanley level. Like, Stanley is way off the deep end, right? Mm-hmm. But she's kind of like, she's struggling with it, especially after she's made a kind of connection with Jimmy in the last episode.
Yeah, because she's in the trenches, or she's closer to everyone there. So she also feels like she doesn't want to be there as well. She says she doesn't want to live around the freaks or something like that, and so she wants a higher cut. So she's not, pure in this entire thing going forward.
Could we give a shout out to Dennis O'Hare and, like, just how great he is, like, every season? Like, even if a good guy or bad guy, like, he's just like really, really, really good.
He's amazing. I hope he's back for the new season too. I can't go another season without him. He's got to come back.
Fraulein Elsa's cabinet of curiosities is about to have a terrible run of bad luck.
Now, over at the Mott family residence, Gloria finds a little surprise in the morning when she gets up. Dora's body is on the ground. Dandy doesn't, like, clean up or anything like that. And, it's the interaction here is funny because her first reaction is, "Dandy, what did you do?" Yeah, and he's like making some like excuse, like, "Oh my God, someone must have broken into our place." But she definitely knows better. She knows her son.
He gets a stern talking to for 5 seconds and told to go to his room, and that's it. And his smirk when he walks away is perfect. Next up, Stanley visits Elsa. He talks to her for a moment. He's a big-time Hollywood producer, but he's a television producer, and Elsa's not on board because she's not on board with television yet. Just yet.
It's pretty funny because, like, she's struggling to keep the freak show afloat, right? Mm-hmm. But then she's super against TV. Like it's not, she's too big for TV, but she's literally, like, barely making ends meet and keeping this freak show going. At one point, you're like, Elsa, like, you got to come to grips with reality, right?
She even says, like, TV will never take off like movies have, ever. I like that. That's a good little ironic
which is funny, right? Because we have to remember at the time in the early 50s, like, TV was just getting popular. Like, it wasn't what it is nowadays for us. Mm-hmm. So you could see how someone would be kind of jaded, and they'd be like, no, TV thing, like, this isn't gonna last. Like, had she only known the future of television, she'd be like, let me get that deal.
Well, currently, from our situation, TV's a big thing right now compared to movies.
Exactly.
So I think, let's just keep that in mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Squeezing the beauty and glamour of the silver screen into that little black and white box. This is the future, Mr. Spencer. I find it very depressing.
And then we catch back up with Jimmy for a moment when Maggie approaches him to read his fortune, which is basically just to tell him about Stanley, give him the heads up, like, hey, you need to go. Someone's coming, and he's gonna lie to you, and he's gonna promise you all these things. Don't listen to him. Maggie's just telling him to run. She should have just told him right then and there about Stanley, but she did not, and all right, here we go.
It was pretty awesome. It was so heavy-handed, and it was, like, so obvious that she's alluding to someone specific that's gonna come into the picture here. And Jimmy kind of just, like, brushed it off and was like, he makes a move on her, obviously, and she kind of turns him down, but he basically just kind of says, like, use that, for the paying customers and not for me. Like, I don't need to hear this stuff. But, like, you can tell that, like, Maggie clearly cares about certain people in the freak show, and she's not completely, like I said earlier, evil like Stanley.
Stanley's the worst. Keep that in mind. Stanley is the absolute worst.
Agreed.
He ain't here, Jimmy.
Well, where is he? When's he coming back?
Who the hell knows?
Then Jimmy heads over to Dell and Desiree's trailer, and this is one of the weirdest exchanges in the season. First of all, let's make it clear, Desiree doesn't quite yet know that Jimmy is Dell's son.
Nope, not yet.
Yeah, and Desiree obviously is extremely lonely. Dell is nowhere to be found. We soon realize that he's been out at some of the other clubs in the area. And, they had some problems romantically in the romance department as well. So, Jimmy just makes a move on Desiree, and they're both open to this. And, once you realize that, she's like a stepmother, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, and also Jimmy's hands were a major problem.
I gotta get her to a hospital.
All ya, in your places now. Where's Dell?
Not here.
Go on, get up on that stage. Folks are here to see you. I'll handle this.
So from there, Elsa performs Bowie's Life on Mars again, and this time the crowd can't take it anymore. They're sick and tired of it, and so she gets booed off the stage like she's at the Apollo.
That was hysterical. I mean, it's also really sad, but was the performance, let me ask you this, was the performance actually that bad?
I don't know. I don't know what pissed them off that much, but whatever it was, they were throwing popcorn at her. They were done. It's over.
I was like thinking about like what is the type of entertainment that they're used to getting from a show like this? And is it really that horrible? Because I was like, it's not that bad of a performance. She's not like completely bombing on stage.
We've seen Barnum and Bailey. This is awful. We want our money back. We don't want to hear David Bowie anymore. What song is this? Maybe it's like this weird Back to the Future thing. Like it's one of those songs your kids are gonna love it, but you're not into it right now, kind of thing. I don't know.
That's actually a great point. This song is literally way ahead of their time.
There you go. She could just write it off to that. Play more Fiona Apple.
The main takeaway here, though, is that she quickly changes her mind about Stanley and his TV deal.
Yep.
That looks a lot more promising after having just bombed on stage at your own freak show where you think you're the headliner.
Now you're
not the headliner.
Those dreams are gone, and she's getting ready to sell out all of the freaks.
Tell me more about this television.
Meanwhile, Ethel takes Desiree to the doctor, where Desiree finds out that she's apparently 100% woman, and she can have kids. And the situation that happened with Jimmy, she was actually experiencing a miscarriage at the time. So she's got a lot of stuff going through her head right now, and she knows one thing is she wants to have children.
Like, you're 100% right. There's literally a lot going on here, right? She thought she was a hermaphrodite and had, like, both male and female parts. The doctor kind of gives her new information on this. But also, obviously the miscarriage is a horrible and unfortunate thing. But my question was, if her and Dell aren't intimate, whose baby was that with her? That was my first reaction. I didn't know if it was maybe that person that Dell killed back in Chicago when they were on the run, or if it was someone else in the freak show.
That I don't know. I want to say it was probably Dell, but who knows?
Now, at the Mott Manor, Gloria is in cleanup mode, something that she does best, right? She just cleans up Dandy's mess through his entire life.
Yep.
But this is pretty comedic right here, hiring some gardeners to literally dig a 6-foot hole, a grave for Dora, and no one asks questions at all, Greg.
Not at all. No, it's all good. Just dig the hole and get out of there. I'm shocked they didn't bury them in the hole as well. But who knows at this point.
There is one thing we know about American Horror Story, right? The cops are normally, all the local PD is really bad at their job. And I think some people are kind of not the brightest bulbs, like they don't really catch on to what's really happening.
It's the plot. You got to do it that way. There's no other way. If they figure it out, then hey, roll credits, story's over. So you got to dumb them down just a little.
You have the sickness like your father had before you.
Also, side note, Gloria reveals to Dandy that there's always been problems in the family line when it comes to inbreeding and going insane. So shouts out to, who is it from? Philippe Mott, yes, from Roanoke. So we'll see him later on when we get to that breakdown. But yes, there are signs into this. So I feel like we're going to get more Motts too in the future. We're going to see where that goes, either in the future or the past. I don't think it stops or ends with Philippe Mott either. I think we're going to get more down the Mott line coming at some point.
No, totally, I agree. And you know, she obviously name checks his father and grandfather, but it would be cool to kind of keep this Mott family throughout like the universe of American Horror Story, right? Like we come back to it in the future, or we go back to it even further in the past.
I need to express myself. Please, Mother, I don't want to end up like Daddy.
We get another David Bowie single here. We have Fame played to a montage of Elsa getting ready for her publicity photos. And just as she's ready, she notices that the Tatler twins are in the back of Stanley's car, a taxi, driving off.
Yeah, this is like the perfect little montage, right? Obviously, she's vying for this fame, this unattainable goal that she thinks that she can reach. So the Bowie song's perfect for this montage. And then she comes to the realization that, like, she's not what Stanley really seeks. He immediately finds that the Tatler twins are the most fascinating thing there, and obviously he has other motivations, right? He wants to get some money off them and bring them to that museum.
Profit.
So she's literally at rock bottom in terms of, like, I mean, how much more can you knock her down after she thinks that she's a headliner in this act, right? So you know, luckily we realize that this kind of day trip, this picnic with Stanley and the Tatler twins is just a fantasy. He does take them on the trip and on the picnic, but the pink cupcakes that we find that he offers them were of course poisonous, and they turned them down, luckily, or else they would have been dead. So thank God that they didn't. Thank God that the Tatler twins were watching their figure, right?
So we have two Stanley fantasies that are played off like a trick to the audience here. Because at this point, you're thinking, oh no, the twins, he got them. He got the twins. And sadly, what does he do? He smothers Dot because she doesn't want to have the cupcake either at the very end. God, he's horrible. Yeah.
And this one's not as big of a scare or a shock when you see it, because you know that they used that element earlier in the episode, right? With Paul.
You should see it coming.
You kind of know that, like, hey, this is not exactly what's going to happen. And you're like, they're not going to kill Sarah Paulson off that quickly, you know? So at least you know that, like, hey, it's not that we don't freak out like they did. The first one's way more effective in that sense. But you kind of just see the how the depths of his how evil he is, and what he will go to in order to get his way.
Try one.
Did you bake them?
From there, Dandy's channeling his best Patrick Bateman as he's working out, and he discovers that he actually has great potential as a murderer. Okay.
Yeah, this actually montage was pretty awesome how they did it. It's definitely heavily inspired by the montage in American Psycho, which came out, like, you know, in 2000, like a long time before this, obviously. But you can see, I mean, they're in their tighty whities. They're both kind of. He's channeling his Patrick Bateman. He's kind of like a cross between Patrick Bateman and Norman Bates. He's this, and Finn Wittrock is so good in the role as well.
Yeah, John Carroll Lynch is gone for the moment, so with Dandy there, and Wittrock is really showing his range right now. This is awesome.
Yeah, and it's more than it's a physical type of acting, but also he does so well, like, emotionally when he kind of switches from scene to scene into this really broken person, right?
It's his confidence as well as going up, slowly building to the villain he's becoming.
The clown was put on Earth to show me the way, to introduce me to the sweet language of murder. But I am no clown. I am perfection.
And then from there, Dandy heads over to a gay bar where we hear Slave to Love by Brian Ferry playing in the background, and he's fixated on a poster looking for Twisty's accomplice wearing a mask. It's him.
And then we find out some new information on Dell. He is there at the same gay bar as Dandy is, and he has a partner, Andy, that he's probably been seeing for quite some time. We had never, you know, Dell was still in the closet. We had no idea that he was homosexual, that he was out there, and maybe, you know, he has, like, this inner conflict that he's kind of holding on to, that kind of he won't, like, he has a lot of hatred for himself, and he hasn't really just come to grips with who he is as a person.
Yeah, and Andy doesn't want to get too attached, and he lets him know quickly, like, you're married still, so let's keep that in mind as well. And
Yeah, Dell's trying to have like the best of both worlds, and he hasn't really like worked out his feelings and what he wants in life, and he's trying to like take advantage. Like he still, as we see in the next scene, he goes back home and flips out on Desiree, and you know he's not being truthful to himself, to Desiree, to Andy, to any of these people that he's come into contact with, even to his own son. He really he's kind of just pushing all the emotions aside and all these relationships aside and being extremely selfish.
Most people can't take the pain, but not me. The pain don't define me, but I still feel it.
And then, of course, when Dell bounces from the club, Dandy heads right over to Andy, and he goes full-on Bateman at this point. He has had his twisty turn now as the villain.
I have a few questions here. One, how did he talk Andy into returning with him to a broken down school bus in the middle of the woods?
Oh, they came back from a bar. I don't know. Alcohol was involved. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Greg, how many damn drinks do you have to go to a broken down bus in the middle of the woods? That's
a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Also, this is one of the most grotesque like deaths in this season so far, I think. I'd have to say, maybe even the whole series. I mean, he's still alive as he's dismembering and sawing off different limbs of his body.
Didn't Ryan Murphy say something about how they shot one of the most disturbing scenes he's ever seen or something like that?
Yeah. Murphy actually said that this was like one of the most twisted scenes that he's ever done. Like literally, he called it like some true horror stuff that they had never had a death scene quite like this. And not on top of sawing off his limbs while he's still alive, it's kind of for comedic effect. It's funny. He says like, "How are you still alive?" But also, then he takes the limbs and he like puts them in a tub of acid to like really dispose of the body. I mean, this was just really dark.
How can you still be alive? You're making me feel bad. Stop it! Please kill me.
And then we get to welcome back Gabourey Sidibe, who plays Regina Ross. Of course, this is Dora's daughter. You knew that this storyline was not going to be over, that the whole Dora's death thing couldn't be covered up for long. This is pretty hysterical because Gloria's like, she's unavailable for the next month, for the foreseeable future. You can't talk to her.
Sure. Okay. Now, fun fact, Regina is the Latin word for queen, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, right? Obviously, she played Queenie in season 3, and she'll reprise the role in season 5 and 8, right? Or 6 and 8.
I think so, yeah.
5 and 8. Hotel, she'll reprise the role, and then she'll reprise the role in Apocalypse, obviously. So, you know, a little fun with the name here, meaning queen. And I have a feeling we're going to see much more of her this season as, you know, exposing what happened exactly to her mother at the Mott family mansion.
Yeah, some justice for Patty.
Enough of this. I'm not afraid of you.
We do also find out that apparently Dandy grew up with Regina, you know, years ago when Regina was little. Like, she was around the house as Dora was working for the family. So Gloria has like this moment where she's riddled with guilt, obviously. She doesn't know how to contain Dandy. But she's kind of asking Regina, like, did you notice anything different with him? Like, what did I do wrong? Like, she feels really guilty for not being there and being the mother that he needed.
She's starting to have second thoughts here. She, obviously, after a murder has taken place now, she's having second thoughts, but we'll see where this goes.
My only question is, like, could she literally have done anything to stop Dandy? I feel like he was just headed towards this. He's a troubled person regardless. Like, he's pretty far out there.
What are your remembrances of me as a mother?
I don't remember you really being with us, with him.
So then we get a scene where Dell heads over to Desiree's doctor's office and he just smashes his hand. Why?
I was like shocked that this happened. I mean, I know he's obviously clearly possessive over Desiree.
Oh, yes.
But like she was talking about like getting an elective surgery, a plastic surgery down there to help some things out. And he decides to just crush the poor guy's hands for no reason.
Yeah, Desiree can just find another doctor. So this episode ends where Elsa's dropping off the Tatler twins once and for all with the Mott family. She's over it. She doesn't want them to get involved with her plans at the freak show, and she doesn't want them to get in front of her and her status. So she is taking the money and dumping them off somewhere.
Yeah, my question here is, does she have any idea what she's getting the twins into? Like, does she know I don't think anyone really knows what Dandy's capable of, right?
I don't know if she
kind
cares.
Of like,
I don't think she cares.
that is a good point. Like, even if she was dropping them off to, for them to get murdered at some point or abused, like, I don't think it would. She's the type of person that probably wouldn't affect her as it would any other normal character on the show.
Yeah, one thing we know about Elsa so far is that she's in it for herself.
I have brought you something that I believe you want.
All right, guys, so that's it for this breakdown. Now, we're going to continue to be here every week. Greg and I are going to call each other and break down every single episode of Freak Show. We hope you guys are doing well and staying safe at home.
That's right. Hit us up in the comments and let us know what you thought of this episode and how you're doing so far right now. We love you all, and we'll be back here next week. Bye-bye.
Stay safe, everybody. Make sure you have some hand sanitizer. Stay safe, okay?
Stay safe.